faster than I thought we were gonna get.
Stop. Oh, careful with that. Although it's gonna rain today and that's gonna still slide away. Probably. It's not running out of there right now. Too deep?
No, like when I step, it like goes flying, and then ends up in my boot. I think there's still some in there. Not great, but.
There's lots in there. A little bit of bark too.
Nice.
You know what's funny is I didn't even eat pancakes.
That's true. Reach.
to stand here.
That's pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah, like that.
Okay. Don't start with okay and don't start with so or Yeah, I know. I already know what I want to say in my head. I just don't want to look right at it and start laughing.
I'm just standing behind it. You can look at me.
Yeah, like when are laughing over there?
Remember, the camera's here, so if you're gonna look somewhere,
Where am I looking right now?
I can't see through.
Well, you can't tell because I was. We're very excited today for 2 reasons. 1, the sun is out finally. And 2, we are doing our first boil of sap. We've got about 200 liters or so from our first run, which is not bad. We're actually pretty happy with that, more than we were expecting. Weather is looking perfect for today until next Sunday, so we're gonna let our buckets run for 1 more week and get a whole bunch more. We're boiling about 200 liters today. It should take us, well, it's gonna take us a couple days probably. We've already started. We've been boiling for about an hour. After we started, it did start raining there for a minute, so Jeff had to run back into the garage and build kind of like a little roof thing over our pot because we need to keep the lid off so that it can evaporate while it's boiling. And we also don't want rain going into our pot of sap. This is our first year doing syrup, so there's a lot of stuff for us to learn. We are definitely making mistakes along the way, but we are excited to see how much syrup we get. So it's day 2 of boiling and it's snowing again. Yesterday we boiled about 70 liters down, so we're at the point now where we can bring it inside to finish boiling it down to syrup to get it to the right temperature. The reason we want to bring it inside to boil it on the stove is because the heat inside on the stove is a little bit more controlled than using the propane outside. And if it boils too long and it's uncontrolled and gets too hot, it will turn to sugar, and then all the work we've done will be for nothing really. So we're gonna bring this pot inside, we're gonna finish it, and then we're gonna start another pot of sap. We have about 100 liters left to go for our first boil, so we are almost done. We're at the end of our first season doing maple syrup. We are very excited about that. We finished with 12 liters, and these are the top 5 things that we learned while we were doing syrup this year.
First and foremost, I think the most important thing we learned was do not tap the wrong trees. That being said, we ended up tapping a basswood tree. We realized our mistake, and then we went ahead and moved the buckets later.
I think we tapped 2. How many basswood trees did we tap? More than 1.
I don't honestly know. I think it was just that double, the V one.
So 2?
Sure, 2. Fair enough. 2 trees. Some of you may know like a basswood looks very similar to a maple. The bark's pretty similar. What we're gonna do next season is late summer. We're gonna go ahead and then we're gonna mark some trees. That way we can use the leaves to sort of help identify what's a maple, what's a basswood, and basically what trees not to tap.
Yeah, hopefully we get better at it next season. Number 2, do not use propane to boil your sap. Propane is not cost effective and it's really hard to control the heat. The boiling took us about a week. Probably about a week. And there were a few days that were really windy and Jeff had to construct this weird roofing concoction thing to keep the flames under control. Still, with the wind the way it was blowing the flame all over the place and it was just really hard to keep a steady boil. If you're only doing maybe like 1 or 2 trees, you're only hoping for like a couple liters of syrup, propane is probably okay. It's probably a good way to go. But for the amount that we're boiling and the amount that we plan to boil next year, we need some sort of large scale evaporator that would be fueled by wood. And since we are splitting wood this year for the next season, we'll be using some of the wood from that to boil our sap next year.
Number 3 would be don't boil inside if you can help it. So we learned that it can be very messy and like the mist or even just like the bubbles coming off, it's very sticky. It gets all over the place. The propane burner that we used, it's actually covered in sap. I got to do a really good job at cleaning that. Some of the holes are plugged in the burner. It's actually quite a mess. If you can avoid boiling inside, that would be the best. And further to that, don't use your good pots, right? We kind of screwed up a couple of our good pots. Again, It's our first season, so we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants here, learn as we go.
My good salsa pot is now my good syrup pot. But also the floor was very sticky.
Yes, in
my
the kitchen.
forehead, very sticky.
Yeah, we do advise boiling inside, right? Or sorry,
no, finishing it inside.
Finishing inside.
Yeah, you want to finish it inside because the heat's more controlled inside and you want to get it to the right temperature. Propane or finishing on wood, it's too hard to control the temperature. You need a steady temperature to finish it. So definitely finish it inside, but do not boil the whole thing inside. It's a giant sticky mess.
Yeah, and when you're finishing inside, the reason why you want more controlled heat from our learning is that once all the water is sort of evaporated or boiled out of it, it starts to really froth and get really bubbly, and then if you're not paying attention or if the heat is kind of out of control, it can get away on you, and then everything, all that effort you put in is just basically gone to waste.
Number 4, it takes a lot of time. A lot more time than I thought it was going to take.
Yeah.
I realized tapping the trees and like waiting for the sap and stuff was going to take a long time, but oh my god, the boiling took forever.
Yeah,
collecting the sap, because you have to wait for the weather. It's very weather dependent. It needs to be plus a few degrees Celsius during the day and minus a few degrees Celsius at night to build pressure in the tree to get the sap to flow properly. So we tapped, the weather said that it was supposed to be the right temperature for what we were doing, so we tapped, and then we got this like weird cold snap where everything froze solid.
Yeah.
And it put us a week behind, so we were pretty discouraged. I thought we did it wrong, but it turns out
weather's always the weather's always kind of not very predictable, right? So we tried our best, but we did learn that, as Holly was saying, like we had a bit of a cold snap in between from when we started, and it was cold for a bit, and then so it was a lot of work for us traveling back and forth to the cabin, extra fuel costs, extra time. In the end, I feel like it was worth it.
Yeah, next season that we will be staying at the cabin, I think for the 1 week or 2 weeks or however long this takes to do next year, because we can't be coming back and forth. It's too much.
Yeah, ideally. And we want to tap more trees.
Yeah, so we have about 100 to 150 trees that we can tap. This year we only did 14. Next year we are going to plan for something totally different, which we're complaining about the time that it took this year.
I guess we'll be complaining next year too.
Next year's going to be a lot. 100 trees, oh my god. We use about... They want syrup.
They want food.
So we usually use about 10 to 12 liters a year of syrup. I substitute most of the sugar in my baking with syrup, so we tend to use a lot more syrup that way. So this is actually right on par for what we need for the whole year. I'm actually really happy with this because we got exactly what we need. We don't have to buy it. And I don't know, I'm good to make it. That was cool.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And for number 5, I would say it's probably the initial startup cost. We didn't expect it to cost so much initially. We had to, for us, because it's our first time and we're just starting, we had to buy buckets, we had to buy the spiles, we had to buy all the clear tubing, a drill bit. They can be expensive if you want the 5/16, which is what's recommended for the spile.
It was expensive because you lost the first one in the snow.
Yeah, I did. But then I later found it actually once the snow started to melt. I don't know if you saw in the videos, but there was a lot of snow. So once it went in the snow, it was gone.
Yeah. The only other expensive part for us was the propane, but like I said, we already touched on that. So we're going to use wood next year, so we won't really be too concerned about that. But mostly just the initial stuff. Like the jars cost nothing because I can't all year round, so we had tons of jars, tons of lids, all that stuff.
We ended up with probably about 550 liters of sap. It sounds like a lot, but the ratio, once you boil it down, is 40 to 1. So it literally takes 40 liters of sap to get 1 liter of syrup. So if you do the math, we probably say about 11.75 liters of syrup. I don't know what that equates to in my head right now, but it was a lot of sap. We figured roughly around 550 liters.
Yeah, because you spilt a lot on the ground.
Yeah, I ended up had a big boo-boo. I guess maybe something else that just off the cuff or just thinking now is like maybe a better way to transport the sap.
I don't think most people are transporting sap as far as we're transporting it. They're probably
That's
just
true.
boiling it there. But like I said, next year we're going to boil it there, so we are not going to have the loss that we had.
Yeah, we probably
I think
lost
like
about
3 times you dropped syrup. Sap.
I spilt a lot when it was shuffling around. In the truck, it was shuffling around.
You fell in the bushes with it too and spilled some on the ground.
Yeah, and then I lost probably like, it sounds bad, but like 40 liters of sap just at home here. Just trying to, we had it in a bag, so I went to lift the bag and the thing tore and it was a big mess. My bad, but
Sap everywhere.
live and learn. So basically these are just the top 5 things that we've learned this year.
That was probably more than 5. That's probably like our top 5 to 10 things that we learned.
Yeah, it was everything that we've done. We researched, we learned. Holly spent the bulk of the time researching. I basically just helped with the grunt work and the lugging and all the drilling and stuff like that.
You can take what we said with a grain of salt. Again, this is our first year doing it, and all the information that we're sharing with you is just based on our experiences and what we've read. If you guys have any advice or tips or anything, please let us know so that this is easier for us next year.
Yeah, just leave a comment down below. We'd probably appreciate it from any of you professionals or someone who's been doing it for years. Again, I think as a whole we enjoyed it. We'll definitely do it again next year. We definitely like the syrup. That's probably the best part. It tastes really good. So
I know the first pot that we boiled down, I just stood at the pot with a spoon and ate it while it was boiling.
yeah, so we would have had 12 liters, but now we only have 11.75.
I didn't eat that much syrup in the
Never know.
pot. I
Maybe,
know
maybe you spilled some syrup when I wasn't looking.
Yeah. So that's a wrap on our first season of syrup.
Thanks for watching.
The end. Have a good day. You don't need to put the syrup away.